Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday. Not that that matters. It is time for my ridiculous bar. This one is a triple chocolate brownie flavor. I have not had this one before. I met up with the guys from Protein Works last week. Good bunch of people, good fun, played paddle. Don't know if anyone else has played paddle before. It's like the short form version of tennis. Really good fun, really enjoyed it. The weather held up as well, which is always a bonus. But yeah, let's try out this flavor. This video is going to be about my smart tech. I personally am a big nerd when it comes to technology. So in terms of particularly my business, in terms of the coaching and in terms of my health, I do invest in technology to help me make better decisions in terms of my health. And so I'm going to go through some of the things that I use, one of which you've already seen, my scales in the morning. And yeah, just kind of give a bit of an insight into the reasoning why I invest in this technology, highlight the pros, some of the cons, and yeah, just to help you guys along your own health journeys. Because I think, and I say this a lot to my clients, the more we track, the more we can make progress, because the more information we have, it simply means that we can make more informed decisions. Anyway, I'm not going to show you how I make my porridge because we've seen that about 5,000 times. To be fair, what they've got right with this bar is the texture. Texture can usually be really bad in protein bars, but the texture of this is quite good. They've got the gooey stuff on the top and like little boulders of chocolate at the bottom. I like it. Right, I'll speak to you in a bit. So the first bit of tech that I use every single day is the first thing that I use in the morning, and that is my Withings scale. So I've had this for around a year and a half now, and the biggest draw with this device for me personally is how automated it is. So there's three scales, or three tiers really, for weighing scales. You have your entry level scale where you step on it, you look at the information, and you do with that what you please. The second tier is Bluetooth enabled scales. So you would step on the scale, and if you have your phone nearby, it will send the information from the scale to your phone. The third tier, and if you like the more premium tier, is a Wi-Fi enabled scale like this, meaning you don't need your phone near you. In essence, you don't really even need to think about anything. You step on the scale, the information is sent into the cloud, and then it is downloaded onto the app. And the app is where the magic happens, because it just makes your life easier in terms of interpreting the information. So the first thing I would say is the Withings app is a representation of all the information on here. And if you have an Apple Watch, it also integrates with Apple Health. So you've got two bits of information colliding together, and it's presented in a really neat fashion. So there's some things here that matter to me more than others. Daily steps, I honestly don't really think about. I just want to move as much as I possibly can within each given day. My weight is obviously a big one that I monitor, so I can view it on a weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or if I am curious, I can look at all my weigh-ins that I've ever tracked. Now, for some people, this may be a bit irrelevant because how you were 7 or 8 years ago probably won't really impact you too much today. But that said, it can be very insightful to track your journey from the very beginning. So the reason why it goes all the way back to near 2016 is because that's when I got an Apple Watch. So all that information in the palm of your hand, crazy. Outside of that, body composition, so I can monitor my body fat percentage and my lean muscle mass. Again, I don't think to myself every day, oh, I wonder what that is. But when I do log onto the app, it gives me that information whether I want it or not. And it can be really insightful, particularly from a body fat percentage, although it is not 100% accurate. I mean, what is? But body fat percentages can be a little bit hit and miss. as long as it's inaccurate and consistently inaccurate, it gives you an idea nonetheless. So all of that information in the palm of my hand, presented in a really neat, digestible way. I've got my blood oxygen there, which I'll touch on later, my sleep quality, my heart rate. And again, it's a way for me to track information without me having to think about it. And I think that's a real powerful tool to have in your arsenal, because I think a lot of people struggle with reaching a goal because they second guess their decision making. They do not track their progress, so they don't actually know the progress that they're making. And human nature is we default to thinking that we could be doing more. So then we make a rash decision. We then get less progress because it's a decision which isn't optimal for us. And then that vicious cycle continues. Whereas with this scale, I step on it every morning. I don't even think about it, and every now and again, maybe every week, I look at the app, see how everything is, and I can make informed decisions based on that. So the Withings Scales, I'd highly recommend. I'd leave a link below. They range between around 60 and 90 pounds, but honestly, for the long-term investment, totally worth it. The next bit of tech that I use, and a piece of tech that you see on me all the time, is my Apple Watch. Wear it every single day. I use it in its most minimal form. So by that, I take away all the bells and whistles. I don't use the ECG scanner. I use the blood oxygen, but I don't really pay too much attention to it. I literally use it to track my exercise and to track my VO2 max. That is it. And for me, that is worth its weight in gold. So I'm going to share with you my health dashboard. Again, this is integrated with the Apple Watch. So all the information on here will get sent to the Apple Health app. So you can edit your dashboard the way that you want. So essentially, you can just show the information that is important to you. I'm not obviously going to go through all of this because there is so much information, but for me, there are a few things that matter most. The first of which is cardio fitness, also known as VO2 max. This can only be updated with an outdoor walk or an outdoor run, FYI, worthy of note. But this is a really good way to gauge how healthy and efficient your heart is. So you can see, for example, let's go to the 6-month view. You can see where my VO2 max peaked. And it will come as no surprise to you that this was the final week of my marathon training before I then got injured. So as you can see, thereafter, my VO2 max has unfortunately gone down. Subtle decrease, granted, but it has gone down, and that reflects the fact that I am training less in terms of cardiovascular health. Take away a marathon, take away somebody who you may deem is at a peak condition in terms of fitness. Wherever you are on your journey, your VO2 max is a really easy way to assess your level of fitness and whether or not it is improving. So for me, really, really useful tool to have. Outside of that, you have basic information like your heart rate variability, which I'll touch on in another product, your sleep, and I actually got a new toothbrush recently. I don't honestly use this, but I just thought it's a nice little thing to have. I bought a quite fancy toothbrush, and I can monitor how long I am brushing my teeth for, because, you know, as silly as it may sound, a lot of people don't brush their teeth for that long, and that's when you get problems in the future, and I do not want those problems. The teeth that I have now, I want to have for as long as I can. So the Apple Watch is great for tracking exercise in terms of calorie expenditure, in terms of running pace, and it's a great way to monitor your cardiovascular health. Okay, number 3 is where the magic happens. Not that kind of magic, this kind of magic. This is my Oura Ring. I've done a whole video on this already, I'll link it in the description below, but my Oura Ring is something that I wear more probably than anything else because it's on my finger. Apart from weight training, 24/7. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail here because I have a whole video on it, but there's a few things that I use the Oura Ring for. The main reason I got the Oura Ring is because I wanted to monitor my stress levels and my recovery. Particularly when I was becoming more competitive with my running, I was very aware of the fact that, and not there's a hierarchical system or anything, or it's not a kind of flex, but when you're working a full-time job, when you are training in terms of weight training, and then when you're doing dozens of miles every week, that's a lot of stress on the body, and if you're not careful, you will burn out very, very quickly. And that's what's happened to me in the past, but I can honestly say since getting this, I have not burnt out once because I have been proactive in analyzing the data and knowing when to pull back a bit in terms of the volume of work I'm doing and when to push on a little bit more. So The Oura Ring is great for understanding your heart health and your recovery. So this is the Oura Ring app. 2 metrics that I go off every single morning. So in terms of order, I step on my Withings scale and then I look at my Oura app to see how my sleep is. So last night I had a really good sleep, a 91 score. I love it when it goes into the 90 because it has a different kind of ambiance. Side note, the Aurora Borealis, aka the Northern Lights, is my #1 bucket list. One day. But in terms of my sleep, I can look at so much information in terms of how long I've been asleep, the quality of my sleep, and one thing that I mentioned earlier, which I'll touch on more so now, heart rate variability. The more variance you have in your heart, the more adaptable your body is to stress. If you have a chronic low HRV, it means that you're stressed and your body is not able to adapt and meet the demands of your everyday life. When you have a greater variation, so in this instance here, let's look at my year. Oh, that's a terrible example because I've only had it for less than 2 years. But you can see here from a monthly basis that in July, I was at peak HRV. I was living my best life. But as I got into August and as I've got into September, I must admit, I've taken on quite a bit of stress because marathon training increased, and in terms of my workload, I've taken on more probably than I can chew. And so that to me is a sign that I need to start prioritizing my sleep more and I need to start doing less as a whole. So that kind of information is really, really valuable. You do have your breathing rate as well that can be monitored. It's a direct correlation between a poor breathing regularity and having a headache in the morning because I've had a bit of a blocked nose. I've woken up a couple of times in the night. Really, really useful. And then stages of sleep. I can see how much time I'm spending in each cycle. That is a huge influence on the quality of your sleep hygiene. But in terms of this as a whole, again, it's another hub. I've got the Withings hub, I've got the Apple Health hub, and then I have the Oura hub. Because anything I do on this watch, it will filter through to Oura. So I can look at previous activities. So for example, yesterday, I can go on here and I can see the run that I did. I burned X amount of calories, I did this kind of distance at this kind of intensity. It's all there in one place. And then it gives a bit of an algorithm in terms of when it thinks that your sleep should be. When is it that you should be sleeping every single night? So here, it suggests, if I can go to today, my body clock or my chronotype, that's my midpoint. So I should have half of my sleep already taken care of by around 3 a.m., meaning I should be in bed before 11 p.m. and waking up in and around 6:30. Really, really useful. So the Oura Ring, nobody needs it, but really, really useful. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, David, that is a lot of information to digest. Why are you tracking so much? Do you not think that having that much information is a bit of a overreaction to tracking your health? I would argue yes, but what I want to stress is, as you've noticed, I take snippets from each piece of tech. I am not investing a lot of time in deep diving into my Withings app, nor my Apple Health, nor my Oura Ring. I take snippets from each platform, the things that matter most. So my Oura Ring is my HRV and my sleep. My Apple Watch is going to be my fitness as a whole in terms of tracking my exercise and my VO2 max. My Withings scale is my body weight, body mass in terms of my lean muscle mass and body fat composition. That's it. I could go further, but that's what matters to me most. So do you need any of this tech? Absolutely, categorically not. But I would argue that if you've struggled to track progress over the years, I reckon you've made more progress than you think, but you've just not tracked it. So you can't give yourself a pat on the back when you need it most, because when we are at our most vulnerable is when we are questioning our lack of progress or our rate of progress. And often in that kind of position, if we don't have information to go off, we will assume the worst. We will assume we are not making progress, and so we will make a rash, extreme decision, whether it be cutting back our calories, whether it be increasing our exercise, whether it being just generally taking on more stress and anxiety, so our sleep starts to suffer, our stress levels go through the roof, and we start to not prioritize certain things as much as we should do. So yes, some of you are thinking, well, you're spending a lot of money on tech here, David, but I would argue it depends how passionate you are about health, and it depends how much you're willing to invest into it. Now, if you want to cut costs, I honestly, well, I'll put it this way. What would I recommend out of those 3 products? I would recommend the Apple Watch. out of those three, because it can serve as a motivator in terms of exercise, and it can serve as a way of actually tracking a lot of data, whether it's your sleep, whether it's your heart health, whether or not it is, again, your ability in terms of cardiovascular health. It does a lot, and it's a constant reminder on your wrist, which I think is a big, big thing in terms of accountability. So this is the tech that I use. I'll link all of the products below. If you have any questions, let me know, but this is how I integrate all of them together, and this is why I think I get the results that I get in terms of my own progress and my own journey. So, yeah. Hope that's helped. I also like technology as a whole. This is a wireless mic. I really hope the audio on this video is good. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you in the next one.